Hello everybody, I'm Avian and we are going through our series on how to make a Stardew Valley mod. The next couple of videos I think are going to be on the same topic, but as I was looking at my plan I realized it was going to be better to divide it out a little bit. This request comes from Actual Pooklet and we're going to learn how to make a farm map complete with tile data, and then I think I'm going to show you how to actually test it out in game. So for this, I'm going to take you over to Tiled, and we are going to start from scratch with Tiled, because when it comes to making a farm map, there's a couple tricks that I think are good to learn to start out with. So with the farm maps, I do typically start with an existing map as reference, just so I can get an idea of the dimensions. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the ranching. I'm going to open up a couple of them for reference. The ranching is the largest of the existing maps. Alright, so I have my sketch. I will post it on the screen, but I've got it pulled up on my tablet so I can just glance over and reference it. So I find that drawing things out on graph paper helps me get an idea of spacing. So I drew it out first on graph paper and then transferred that over to my little drawing program on my tablet. So I'm going to be using that as reference. I am also actually going to open the standard farming map. Oh, there it is. As reference, because I want to keep this little pond here. So one of the things I like with Tiled, and I'll show it to you in a minute, is that you can copy and paste tiles over. So what I want is I want the size of the map. So I'm going to go to map, I'm going to look at resize, I'm going to look at the height and width is 100 by 75. The next important thing to know when you're doing your projects is you need to make sure that you use it in, you need to make sure that you save it in the same folder that your maps are in. So I need to save mine in my mod projects folder. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is we want to make a new map. We're going to choose, leave it on orthogonal, leave it on CSV, leave that alone. We want the same 100, what was it, 100 by 70, resize, 100 by 75. By 75, that'll make it the same. And then our tile size we need to change to 16 by 16. So if you're in Tiled, make sure it's 16 by 16 because that is the actual size of the tile shaped grid. So now we have a basic map. The next thing I'm going to show you, because I am particularly like to make sure that things line up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this world feature. File. If I can remember how to do it. Okay. So the first thing we need to do, wow, I'm going to have a lot of editing because I keep forgetting what I'm doing. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is set up our 5 basic layers. So we have back, buildings, paths, front, always front. And the 6 is the object layer, which is what I'm thinking about. I may need to make a back objects layer, but I think I might just be able to get away with the buildings object layer. So when you make your layers, you want to make sure that you're looking for tile layer for your 5 main layers, and then this pink object layer for your second building layer. because that is going to be where your tile data goes. And I think I do need a back buildings layer. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close those and lock those for now to make sure I don't build on them accidentally. I'm going to go to back. I'm going to import a tile sheet. So I'm going to go down to my tile set, new tile set button. I'm going to hit browse. I am in my maps folder. So I am looking for spring outdoors. There we go, spring outdoors. And you want to make sure your little embed button is checked. Tendency to forget that step sometimes. I'm going to go ahead and click on the grass tile. And I am just going to grab my fill bucket and fill my back layer with grass. I will go back and do the actual drawing in a minute. Because I want to make sure things line up correctly. So my next thing is to go to this. Here we go. Okay, so now we're going to go to map. I'm going to go to new world. This is how you can save a new world. This is how you can layer your maps in and put them side by side so you can see how things line up. I'm going to, now that I've made a new world, I can click on the world button, add to loaded world, which is the world I just made. And now I'm going to go in and I'm going to open a couple maps. I want the Cindersap Forest, which I believe is just named Forest. Yes. I'm going to add that to the Applegate world. And you see when I do that, that my grass field has popped up over here, but we want this lined up at the bottom, because what I'm going to do is line it up so that our farm kind of sits in this corner and I can see how the paths connect. Make sure that I didn't sketch my sketch with that path over too far one direction or the other. I think I had it, and that's pretty much in the center. Looks like I did. I can always readjust. I'm going to add the bus stop. And again, this is just because I personally like to have things connected. You do not have to do this if you don't want to. I'm just making it easier for myself. And then I want the back road. I'm going to add that to the world. Zoom out a little bit, that'll make this easier. I think I had that roughly like that. I think I have this connected the way I want it. However, if you look at the edges of the map, they don't 100% line up like that. So you could pretend that the road and the farm and everything has like a little bit of a L shape or whatever you want to do. I think in this case, because that puts that too high for how I want a little cliff area for farming and stuff above the farmhouse is what I have in my initial design. So I am actually going to put that so that it's catty-cornered. And in reality, it would be out like this, and there would be like a L or a roundabout or something that would go like that. But this mostly just helps me make sure that my squares are lined up where I want the squares to be lined up. And again, you can do whatever you want for your own farm map. This is just how I sketched mine out, was to be roughly in sync with how the paths cross, give or take. So anyway, that is how you do the world setup. My next set of things to do is to look at the sketch and actually draw out my map with the tiles. So I'm going to do that. I might speed up or edit out that part of the footage but this will give you an idea of, once I have the map done, what the next steps is. So what I do is I don't, how do I put this? I just draw the map and I worry about setting up the tile data and the pathing information and everything until after the map is actually drawn. Alright, so one of the things you'll notice is that there are these dots on the path layer that indicate the size of the farmhouse and the greenhouse. And in this case, since this is the ranching, this is the coop, since those are movable buildings, those are things that are not actually put onto the tile sheet. They're kind of marked and then designed around, and then they're put in the tile data. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to the paths layer, make sure that's highlighted. I'm going to zoom in so I can get a good idea of space, and I might move these roughly later, but I'm going to take my rectangular selection tool. I'm going to select that block because I know it's the right size. And then I'm going to go over here to my farm map. I'm going to make sure I'm on my paths layer. I'm going to paste it. Oh, I don't want to do that. And then I am going to roughly stamp it where I think approximately it's likely going to go. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the greenhouse shape. And this way, when I draw grass patches and things, I will have the space predetermined in my map. And I want it, and again, I'm probably going to move these a little bit. I'm going to just erase the clutter because I'm going to put in clutter later when at the very last part. I'm going to zoom in here because the other thing I wanted to do was copy this path, because this path seems to be on the majority of the maps, and I wanted to include it in this map because it's so common. Yeah, I think I drew actually copied the scheme of the, yeah, and then I just put 2 extra little trees at the end of the, so I'm going to use the ranching version. So the way you can do this is you can highlight in the sidebar, click on your back layer, hold the shift key. Oh, I need to add a back 2, and do I need to add a back 2? Yes, I need to add a back 2 and a buildings 2 and an always front 2. So if you're copying, make sure you have the same layers in your map that you are copying. Back 2. And then they have their objects layer at the top. Concerned 8 did it that way. That's probably better for organization anyway. Back to buildings 2, always front 2. Doing it this way, because the way the game is coded is it's going to always look for like always front, back, front paths, those names. So by adding a 2, it's keeping the name the code is looking for, but allowing you a little bit of extra layering ability. And that was something that showed up with, I don't remember which update, but it was really nice when it did, so that we could actually take advantage of how tiled lets you do that. Okay, so you click on the back, you hold your shift key, click on your all the way up at the top, always front. That will highlight all of those layers. And then I want at least one curve of the cliff. So I'm going to get just like that. Highlight that with my rectangular select. Control C for copy. Control C for paste. Line it up. And you'll notice that my little 2 grid right there is in the wrong spot, so I'm going to copy this over. See, move it just a little bit, and then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to get the rest of that path because I didn't go out far enough. There we go. And then I'm going to use this as reference. It was 3 over lined up with the third. So line it up 2, 3. And that puts the farmhouse in the spot I want it relative to that path. So now I've got that. I had a similar concept with the way I wanted these cliff part to line up. I really liked how that was done. So I'm just going to copy that. Just so I get the entrance in the right spot. Copy. And you notice the farm map is a 2. But that is the actual going into the backwoods is a 1. And that's kind of the same on most of the farm maps, is that cliff there is like that. So in theory, there's a little bit of a gap there. So I am not going to stress about making everything line up perfectly. Mostly what I want is just to make sure that my path lines up in roughly the spot for where I was thinking it should be. And there we go. And now I have the pond in the spot I want it. And again, you do not have to do this. This is just the way I drew my sketch and what I wanted to do, because I wanted to keep some of those things that are common to the majority of the farm maps. Yeah, so I think that's mostly what I wanted to copy. So now I can go ahead and exit out of these. I'll open them back up if I need them. No, we don't want to save anything. We just want to save the things on my map. I'm going to save the changes I've made on my map. So now the hard part is going to be actually building the rest of the base of this map. And I will go ahead and do that, and I will cut back to this once the base is made. Alright, so we are back. I have finished the map. I'm going to go through a couple important things about the map, and then I will get into the pathing layer, which is the last step for the map portion of our real video. So if you toggle these eyes over on the side next to your layers, you can hide your layers. There is something very important that I'm going to show you. I'm going to turn off everything except the buildings layer. And as you can see, let me move this so that we can see it properly. What I need is to confirm that my buildings layer is not hiding anything or overlaying anything, and that I have a clear and consistent border around the edge. So looking right here, it looks like something that I meant to put on the buildings layer is not on the buildings layer, and something that that I needed right there to be able to walk on is not walkable because it's on the buildings layer. So the buildings layer basically acts like a wall. So I'm going to go ahead and fix this real quick. I'm going to highlight, copy, back layer on. There we go. There we go. Now it's on the back layer and not the buildings layer. And then down here, I need this edge to be complete. So I'm going to highlight my back layer, copy it, go up to the buildings layer, take that same edge, and now that has that line there. And there was this edge over here where I had thought I had a fence built, but I'm betting I put it on, there it is, it's on back tube instead of the buildings. So I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. And doing this is what keeps the farmer character from walking off of the map. Alright, so now one more spot. So now when I zoom out, turn off everything except the buildings layer, what I'm looking for is to make sure I have a very clear border all around the edge, which I do. This right here has the fence before it, so that should keep the farmer from walking off. I also want to make sure that my border around the water tiles is complete, which it is, yes, because that's the waves all the way through. Oh, and I see another spot. That's not water. So this is why I always double check this when I'm making maps. Because it is very easy for things like that to happen on accident. Alright, let me turn my layers back on. And now we can talk about the pathing layer. And in the next video, we'll go over the tile data. But you know, when you start your farm, you have all the debris like this. This is all on the paths layer. And the same thing for the giant logs and the trees that are grown, is those are key to this path layer. So let me make this bigger so you can see it. So these are, this would be your stump. These are your trees, maple, oak, and pine. This is just general marker tile, which has been used to mark out where the house and the shipping box and the greenhouse will default to. So when I go to put those tile data in, it will be easy for me to reference. I'm also going to go ahead and put one for the pet food bowl right here in the corner of the fence, because for me, I think that would be a good spot for a pet food bowl to go. Alternatively, I might put it up by the spouse patio. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I'm going to leave it in the corner of the fence. Yes. The bushes, we have your big bush, your medium bush, and your small bush. These generate from the lower left-hand corner. Your medium bush is the one that's going to grow the berries. However, your logs and your stumps generate from the upper left-hand corner. So you go down. So I'm going to go ahead and put some logs in because I'm going to have some foraging space here. And I wanted to show you all how that would work. I'm going to put some bushes in. There we go. And that way the farmer can walk all the way around the lake. There's plenty of bushes for foraging. I've made a spot where I will eventually put some mining nodes, and I'm going to try to show you all how to do the fishing stuff as well in the next video. Now back to the pathing data. If you have specific spots where you might want the cabins to generate on your farm, you can use either these of the clustered 4 or the spread out 4. So if I put, if we wanted to cluster the cabins, I might put like these here. I need to double check how many cabins can fit. And if I wanted to specify spots for cabins spread out, I would use this one. I'm going to really quickly check how far apart those cabins need to be, because I don't remember how many cabins or what size they are. So if you go to the wiki, you have this explanation of the paths layer right here, and they have the numbered key off to the side, so it makes it really easy. What I need the information on is 29 and 30. With the top left corner of the tile. Cabins, how many cabins? I think it's 4. Up to 7. Okay, and they are 5 by 3. So the building pages on the wiki tell you how many tiles they are, so I need to make sure that they're 5 by 3. So we shall put the appropriate amount of cabins on. Let me go back to the paths. And we want I'm going to do the close in first. There. So now if they're clustered, then they will be arranged across the back. Let me get in here and make sure that I don't have... Yes, should be good there. Now if I want to put the spaced out ones, we're going to choose 7 spots for a spaced out one. That is, put one up here. Yes, the door should remain open. Put that one there. That's 2, 3, 7. Okay. So now in multiplayer, there are now 7 spots marked for the cabin spacing. The next thing I want to make sure I do is the trees. And then we can add the debris and the grass. I'm going to actually add the grass first. So the grass is the spiky looking thing. This is the bluegrass. And then this one next to our log is the regular grass. I am going to add some bluegrass. Just some random little clusters. And this is all going to be what's generated. Go ahead and put the grass in the grass. At the start of the game, start of a season. The grass and the trees every season will start out in these spots. I'm not being particularly neat about it because there's really no point in being super worried about where it ends up, because it's just going to spread. So there's the bluegrass. And as I said with this map, I'm just doing a little bit of everything because I want to show you all how it's done. If it comes out well, I may actually turn it into a full-fledged mod. I might need to do a little extra planning for that, but for now it's just how do you build these. I'm gonna actually erase that. We'll go the traditional route and have it be just in the dirt space. I also need to show you all how to set up the details in the tile sheet for making sure that your dirt sounds like dirt and is diggable, and your water is water and does the water overlay and all of that. So we will do that next video as well. Okay, and now we're just add the trees. Those are the little tree images with the 1, 2, 3s. I usually start with one tree and then go through the other, and then eventually I have all the trees. And as long as you're careful not to override, like not to put trees on top of your cabins or your stumps or anything like that. You'll notice I am trying to intentionally kind of stay out of the space where the cabin might need to have room. Alright, so now for debris. Those you can actually see already on here as the actual things that show up on the map, the log and the stones and the weeds. And those, just like anything else, as long as it's on the path layer, and just click and drag them wherever you want them. Alright, so there we go. So that is how you get your paths and your debris and everything onto your map. And I think this is a good spot. The next video I'll go through tile data, how to get your areas set up for how to get your areas set up for the mining nodes and the fishing. I will show you how to add a actual growing tree to your map, because I want to put some apple trees right at the entrance here that are already growing for the farmer to use. How to mark where your cave entrance is. Setting up your tile sheet data for water to work as water, and the dirt and the stone and everything to sound as dirt and stone. And we will go on there, but I do feel like that's going to be a whole video by itself, so we will tackle that next time. So I hope you found the startup steps helpful, and until the next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.